This is Chris with Dive Zone Scuba for another technical diving tips, techniques, and trips video. In this video, we're going to discuss the use of independent backmount doubles on Liveaboard boats. Prior videos have covered the use of independent backmount doubles on day boats in Cozumel and also for shore diving in Bonaire. So in this video, I'm going to discuss some of the things that I learned from using independent backmount doubles for a week on a liveaboard boat in the Red Sea in August of 2022. So the first thing I'd like to point out is somewhat obvious, and it has to do with the dive deck. This is the dive deck on the Cinefro Target, and here's my station here at the end by the steps. So if you're diving with any kind of set of doubles, either manifolded or independent backmount doubles, one of the things that you want to do is obtain a station close to the stairs, and one where you have different handholds on the way down. So I was easily able to stand up and then go to my left and go down to the stairs, which are by the outboard engine. And here's the rest of the dive deck where we hang our wetsuits up and where other people's stations are. The ladder is another important consideration when you're diving with either manifolded or independent backmount doubles on a liveaboard boat. This particular ladder was completely unacceptable for diving with doubles. One of the problems is that this ladder would swing underneath the dive transom deck when you were climbing the ladder. Another serious problem is the offset nature of the rungs on this particular vessel. We have also dove the sister ship, the Cinefro Love, and in that case the ladder is also a Christmas tree style, but there are rungs opposing each other on both sides, which makes it far more easy to climb up the ladder with doubles. With these two problems, it was very difficult for me to climb up this particular ladder, and the crew eventually ended up having to pull my set of independent doubles out of the water onto the dive deck. So look for a vessel with either a conventional type ladder or at least a Christmas tree type ladder with rungs on both sides. So on this liveaboard, you are basically selecting a set of tanks, and your gear is going to be attached to those tanks the entire trip. And so what you do to fill your tanks is you remove your regulator, and a whip is attached to your tanks, and they're filled while you're eating or while you're taking a break. Since the tanks are continuously attached to the rig, one of the things that I noticed was that having the tanks attached the whole time, that the tank bands had a tendency to slip down on the tanks. And you can see that from the following image. So one of the things that I had to do was I had to reposition and tighten the tank bands every couple of days. You would think that the tanks would slip lower in the tank bands, but what is actually happening here is that the tank bands are slipping lower on the tank. And the reason for this is when the crew took my set of independent doubles out of the water, they held them by the tank valves, which caused the weighted rig to slip occasionally down the tanks. So this is one thing to take in consideration in comparison to diving on a day boat where you actually fix your tanks up each day. When diving with a manifolded set of doubles, I normally have a SPG on my left post and a transmitter on my right post. And as I mentioned in an earlier video, I have changed that with use of independent backmount doubles. So what I do normally now with independent back mount doubles is I dive the left tank with a transmitter, and I dive the right tank with an SPG. So it's backwards from diving with a manifolded set of tanks. As I discussed in that video, the primary reason for doing that is to dive with a more streamlined rig. However, on this trip, what I actually did was I removed the SPG on the right tank and replaced it with a transmitter. So I now, in this configuration that I was diving with, have no analog SPG and just two transmitters. This was not too much of a concern since I was only recreational diving, and the fact that I had two independent systems meant that I had significant redundancy in the event that I had a problem with one tank or the other tank or either transmitter. So this resulted in a really streamlined configuration. You'll notice that I have both transmitters attached to a 6-inch high pressure hose. I was very glad that I did this, as I was having the boat crew pull my gear out of the water due to the latter issue. The transmitter mounted directly to the first stage provided too good of a handle for some of the boat crew that were not familiar with this type of rig. And I'm happy to say that both transmitters survived the week-long liveaboard trip. I conducted a total of 16 dives using the independent back mount double system over the course of the week. The additional gas meant that I did not have to worry about my gas consumption, and in fact all the other divers had to surface before I had anywhere near an issue. This particular dive boat does offer the use of manifolded doubles for 90 euros for the week, and it cost me a total of 30 euros for the second conventional K-valve tank. This is not a huge saving in comparison to the other costs of this trip overall, but I am able to spend the difference in the costs on other diving expenses. One other thing that the use of independent back mount doubles diving would do for me in comparison to manifolded doubles is that in the event that the crew was not able to lift my rig out of the water, I could release one or the other tank and allow the crew to lift that out and then exit the water on my own. Overall, this was an interesting experiment, and I think I have conclusively proven to at least myself that it is feasible to dive independent back mount doubles off of a typical liveaboard in the Red Sea. This is Chris with Dive Zone Scuba. I hope this video was helpful. Thanks for watching, and also please subscribe.